right, we are in Genesis chapter 21, verses 22 through 34. Last section here. Oh, does anybody get a copy of the lesson sheet?
There you go. Anybody else? Cassie, did you get one? Did you get one? Anybody else? You guys are good? Yeah. You guys? There you go.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started with prayer.
Through this class tonight, help us to be able to reason through this stuff and be able to apply it to our lives. Thank you for Jesus. It's in His name we pray.
Amen. All right, thank you. All right, so this is part 3 of this section that's dealing with faith and emotions in Genesis 21. And seeing from the different stories going on here, what's going on, we've got joy from the birth of Isaac, and then that joy and excitement that then eventually turns into some trouble in the home with Hagar and Ishmael and some of the things that Ishmael was about, the laughter, the mocking, whatever was going on there. And to the point that Sarah is just done with Ishmael, done with Hagar. She wants them gone, and God assures Abraham to go ahead and follow at Sarah's request and kick them out of the house, and they're on their own at this point, and but God would take care of them. And so we've seen all that. And now we come to this next section here, and we'll see another things take place in this chapter that might beg the question as to why is this in the story? Why is this in the storyline? Why is this included in here? And see if you can make sense of it and to what it is that this is really trying to point out, why this is here for us, what's the main takeaway for us. But let's go ahead and get into some of the questions, and we'll be, in some of the questions I've got just, I guess you could say maybe there's seems like some side trips. It's making some application based off of things that are going on in the text. And seeing what we understand about it and how well we understand it and apply it. So let's go ahead and get into question 1 here, and that is, who approaches Abraham and what do they want from him and why do they want it? Yeah, Robin.
Okay, so it's Abimelech.
Abimelech.
Thank you. Abimelech and Phicol, which is one of the, and they just want Abraham to not be.
Yeah, okay, so Abimelech and his commander of his army, because however that guy's name is pronounced, Phicol, whatever it is, isn't it interesting that Abimelech comes with him, the commander of his army? Why do you think that might be the case? I mean, all of a sudden, we haven't heard this guy yet in any of the dealings, and all of a sudden, now he's got the commander of his army at his side approaching Abraham. So maybe there's not much to it other than that's what the king does, is he has the commander of his army at his side, type of a thing. But what are they going to Abraham about?
The well.
Okay, so so there's an agreement that they come to, or they want to make sure that that Abraham's not dealing falsely with them, right?
Because he has a past,
Yeah.
Abraham.
So even before the whole wealth thing, all that we have initially is just, okay, hey, let's have an agreement here, right? why would he want Abraham to specifically not deal falsely with him? Like, why is that his request? As part of, like, I want you to swear to God, swear by God, that you will not deal falsely with me. In regard to what?
Doesn't really say.
Yeah, just in your dwelling here and kind of into the future now. Don't you think it's interesting that all of a sudden it's like this feels almost out of nowhere? Why all of a sudden do you want him to make a promise to you that he's going to continue to deal rightly with you, or he's not going to deal falsely with you? So why would he even go, Mark?
Well, they say it to him. They say God is with you in all that you do.
Yeah.
And because of that, they want to pledge that, he's going to be kind to them and their descendants.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid of God.
Okay.
They're afraid of God and what.
Yeah, so they see God in the picture of this, in with him, with Abraham, but also the fact that the request has to do with don't deal falsely with me and with others that are connected to us and all of that in the land, which really speaks to he's done us dirty before, right? And that's it. Well, yeah, yeah. At least he wasn't forthright about it, and I think that's where this is coming from. And yet he's looking at him and going, "We know God's with you, and we're interested in having God with us too." But so it's interesting. It's like almost like out of the blue. Where is this coming from? So I think there's something to like how alive. So by the time we get to chapter 22, Isaac, how was he 8? Is that what it is? Does it say? I'm trying to remember. Or at least that's what's supposed. If it doesn't specifically state it, it's supposed. And so he's been here for a few years. He's had a chance to settle in, to be a person among the people. Maybe they haven't had a whole lot of interaction and dealings, and then maybe he gets a little insecure about his dwelling there, or at the very least, he wants to know that God's going to continue to be with them because he's with Abraham and he wants things to be good there. Right? Mark?
Well, there's a good chance that he's been there that long. His family was growing and his wealth was growing.
Yeah.
His herds were growing and everything was because that's why they said, God's obviously with you in all that you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that could look out to be a threat, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you could turn in to be the power over us, especially if God's on your side. Clearly, he's on your side.
That's what Pharaoh saw in Egypt.
Yeah.
Later.
So a potential threat. But when Pharaoh sees that later on with the sons of Jacob, or excuse me, with all the Israelites, the sons of Israel, the descendants of them, and how plentiful they become at the end of Genesis and the start of Exodus, how plentiful they are. And he feels so threatened by the fact that if they only knew that they could just overthrow us, if even just one of them gets that idea, they could, and we've got to put a stop to this, right? So perhaps that's very likely what's going on here. So let's take this next question and see how some of this plays out, and that is, I'm not keeping up with my slides here. That's a first. Okay, so why does Abraham agree to swear by God? And is this a right or wrong thing for a believer to do? Support your answer.
Take the first half, because they explained to him, hey, we've dealt fair with you.
Okay.
So, fair's fair.
Yeah. Did Abraham just decide to swear by God himself? Whose idea was it?
Well, it was there.
Yeah, it was Abimelech's, wasn't it? So, is that something that Abraham should have done? Let me, I guess, let's ask this. What have you been taught about making promises that way growing up?
Don't do it. Let your yes be a yes and your no be a no.
Don't swear by God, right? Don't, I mean, we have, of course, there's the not truly meaning it in the right way where people will say something like, I swear to God. So I swear to God, not even I swear by God, but still, that same notion. Why would anybody use that? Either I swear to God, I swear by God, or as God is my witness, blah, 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 blah. Fill in the blank. Do you feel uncomfortable with talking like that yourself? Like making a promise to somebody that way? Why?
Well, especially ones that we don't know we're not fully in control of.
Okay.
You know? But when you're dealing with your own character, like, I promise I won't lie to you, and you can control that.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, I mean, people have made vows and sworn with God as the witness for thousands of years. And when Jesus was making a point of it, wasn't it Jesus that said that hated it? They had been abusing it and like having little loopholes. And he said, stop doing that. Like, you're ABA and you're an ABA. Just being Pharisees and but the context is way different when it's talking about swearing and your intent and your integrity and making vows is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, good,
I would
Robert.
say, for the person that would do that or say that, swear by God or God's my witness, they're trying to gain credibility for themselves using God's name as opposed to their own character.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, God, who is everything, like, if I add him into the picture, that makes this solid, right? Isn't that it? Isn't that kind of the idea?
So people are
What's bigger than God? Nothing. So now this brings in some other parts here. Is how does God feel about people swearing by his name? Like, and by swearing, we're talking about making an oath, making a promise by his name. Why not just make a promise? Just say, hey, listen, I promise to you I'll do that. Like, why throw in God's name? Well, of course, bigness, all that kind of stuff. But has God ever been okay with that? Turn over to Deuteronomy 6. In verse 13. Seth, would you read that for us when you get there? Deuteronomy 6. Nice and loud for us.
It's giving me like an enjoying study Bible thing.
Oh.
It's like trying to get me to read that. Okay, what was it, verse 13?
Yeah, verse 13.
Sorry. You shall fear only the Lord your God, and you shall worship him and swear by his name.
Wait, what? You shall what?
Swear by his name.
You shall swear by his name. That is not what I was taught growing up.
Take oaths in his name.
Take oaths in his name. Okay, how about our court system? Is there something similar to that in our court system?
Yeah, so
They
I just
give you-
whispered.
Yeah.
You have a choice.
Yeah, they've changed it now.
Well,
It's
it's
a
been
little bit more.
for a long while.
Well,
back.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you have a choice. But now they even change up some of the wording, like affirm instead of do you swear. By the Bible. But it used to be like put your hand on the Bible. And there's the whole I'd swear on a stack of Bibles or something like that, right?
You would hope that stuff wouldn't be necessary, that you would have enough integrity, but Abraham actually has shown he doesn't. So he,
That's the thing. he's calling on him to step up in his integrity, where at least it's something that's tainted, it's called into question. And now it's like, I want to know for sure, like, swear by God that this is not, because you can't swear and then people will be brought down with that. Why would God say for his nation of people to swear by his name, to make an oath by his name? Like, not even say it's okay to do it. He would say, that's how I want you to make oaths. What? Why? Let's drop back and read verse 10 a little bit here. So the start of this is, all of this, chapter 6 is real significant. Keep the stuff that I'm commanding you today. Do it with all your heart. Teach your kids to walk in the things that I'm telling you. Teach them those things. Then in verse 10, then it shall come about when the Lord your God brings you into the land which he swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Wait, who did some swearing?
God.
Yeah, God did. So God swore, he swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you great and splendid cities which you did not build, verse 11, and houses full of all good things which you did not fill, and hewn cisterns which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant, and you eat and are satisfied. Then watch yourself, that you do not forget the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall fear only the Lord your God, and you shall worship him, and swear by his name. You shall not follow other gods, any of the gods of the peoples who surround you, for the Lord your God in the midst of you is a jealous God. Otherwise, the anger of the Lord your God will be kindled against you, and he will wipe you off the face of the earth. Notice how that part ends out, what he wants them not to do. What is it?
Don't worship other.
Yeah, don't follow other gods. So he says, swear by my name. Notice it's connected to their worship, their service, their devotion, all of that to God. Where he's talking to Israelites who've just come out of Egypt, and what have they been saturated with? Idolatry. People making vows, oaths, all that kind of stuff by all these other gods that aren't really gods. And I think that's part of it too. And he says, no. When you make an agreement with somebody, you make an agreement by my name. You bring me into the picture. And this agreement now has everything to do with my character being in the picture, because here's the thing. I just told you, I swore and I keep my promise. I've kept my promise. I'm keeping my promise. I'm a God of faithfulness. And so when you swear by my name, you make an oath going, hey, as God here, I swear by him that I will do this thing, or we will have this agreement between us. And, he's bringing God's loyalty, God's character, God's faithfulness, his truthfulness, his goodness, all of that into the picture, and it's representative. So in other words, if I break my part of that covenant or that oath, then what does that mean?
It means you messed up.
It means, so if I swore by God's name, not just by my name, or not just by my mother's grave,
You messed up to God.
not just a pinky swear, but if I brought God into it, and then I break it, it's not just something between me and this person. I've now put a mark on the name of God because of his faithfulness. And he says, if you're going to misrepresent me in your oaths and in, you're going to turn to idolatry, all those kinds of things, he says, I'm going to have, we're going to do something here. I'm going to do something to you. So all of that, I just wanted to bring some of that stuff out because this is something that's significant about then what do we do about like vows and oaths? And by the way, when it comes to vows to the Lord, what do God have to say about making vows to Him? Because that was a pretty common thing. You almost see people like almost shy away from that. Like, you know, some people still do. God, if you'll just do this, I'll do this in return. Right? Can you think of any biblical examples of that? People doing that?
Yeah, Hannah.
Yeah, so Hannah did that, right? If you'll give me a kid, I will dedicate him to you. And he'll be totally a part of your service and all of that. There's another one in the book of Judges where Jephthah makes a vow to God, if you will help us to win and defeat the Ammonites who are pressing upon us. The first thing that walks through my door,
Oh yeah,
I
terrible.
will sacrifice it. And what walks through his door?
His daughter.
His daughter. Does he follow through with the oath? Every indication in the text seems to suggest that he did. In fact, the other women, she has like a month to mourn her virginity, and then she is memorialized by all the other women. So, seems like he followed through. Now, is that right? Is that showing us like
We make a vow and we have no idea what's gonna. It's like in James. You know, James 4. He says, "Come now, you say today or tomorrow we'll go into such and such a town, spend a year there, and trade and make a profit." You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Yeah.
You know, what's your life? Instead, you ought to say, "If the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that."
yeah?
And so rather than make a vow, you know, I swear by God that I'm going to do this, because you have no idea if you can actually follow through. Well, if the Lord wills, then I'll do this.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, James seems to sort of riff off what Jesus has to say about making vows, right? Let's read two sections of scripture. Let me get Kyle. Would you read Leviticus 5 verses 4 through 6, and then Haley, would you read Ecclesiastes 7, or excuse me, Ecclesiastes 5 rather, and verses, let's do 1 through 7 of Ecclesiastes 5. So Kyle, go ahead with Leviticus 5, 4 through 6.
Or if anyone thoughtlessly takes an oath to do anything, whether good or evil, in any matter one might carelessly swear about, even though they are unaware of it, but then they learn of it and realize their guilt. When anyone becomes aware that they are guilty in any matter, they must confess in what way they have sinned. As a penalty for the sin they have committed, they must bring to the Lord a female lamb or goat from the flock as a sin offering, and the priest shall make atonement for them for their sin.
Okay. What's that one telling us about making vows or oaths?
You don't keep it, it's a sin.
Okay, if you don't keep it, it's a sin. Also, if you swear thoughtlessly with your lips to do evil or good, and yes, I promise I am gonna kill you. I mean, whatever evil. You're bound by it is one of the things here, right? You thoughtlessly make this oath, and whatever matter a man may speak thoughtlessly with an oath, and it is hidden from him, and then he comes to know it, he will be guilty in one of these. So if he is guilty in one of these, he needs to confess that he sinned. And what else? He needs to offer up sacrifice, right? Okay, so this is talking about some thoughtless oath making. Anyone ever maybe jump too quickly into making a promise? Yeah. Let's go ahead and read the next text in Ecclesiastes 5. I keep saying 7. Ecclesiastes 5, 1 through 7.
Guard your steps when you go to the house of God. To draw near to listen is better than to offer the sacrifice of fools, for they do not know that they are doing evil. Be not rash with your mouth, nor let your heart be hasty to utter a word before God. For God is in heaven, and you are on earth. Therefore let your words be few. For a dream comes with much business, and a fool's voice with many words. When you vow a vow to God, do not delay paying it, for he has no pleasure in fools. Pay what you vow. It is better that you should not vow than that you should vow and not pay. Let not your mouth lead you into sin, and do not say before the messenger that it was a mistake. Why should God be angry at your voice and destroy the work of your hands? For when dreams increase and words grow many, there is vanity. But God is the one you must fear.
Okay. So he talks in this text about making vows to God. What's he saying about it?
You need to keep it.
Okay, 1, you make a vow, you better keep it. So don't make it rashly. Don't make it foolishly, that's actually the term that he uses earlier on, talking about drawing near or going to the house of God, drawing near to listen rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools. He goes, draw near to listen rather than to speak. That's the sacrifice of fools that he's talking about, the vows that you're making that are not well thought out and not intended to keep it, all of that. So it's actually interesting what he's doing with that here. And it smacks a little bit of what Jesus is doing in Matthew chapter 5 when he talks about making vows to God. Do not swear by heaven. Don't swear by earth. Why not swear by heaven? It's the throne of God. Why not swear by earth? I've never heard of a promise by earth, but things on the earth. But why not swear? Huh?
It's all going to fade away, so.
Yeah, it's all going to fade away, and it's his footstool. So it's heaven's his throne, the earth is his footstool. It's all God's in the first place. Yeah, Mark?
Well, whatever you make a vow to, you're still making a vow.
Yeah.
You know, you're making a promise to keep something.
Yeah.
Whether you do it to share or, God.
I have to keep my vows.
Yeah, there were if you swore by different things, it carried a different degree of weight to it. Swearing by the temple or the gold of the temple.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of a thing that Jesus also talks about. He says, well, don't do any of those things either. Notice that all of those things don't even involve swearing by God. So they're like dialing it back from swearing by God to lessen, but still give it a lot of significance, make it sound like this is still a pretty big deal. But I didn't go so far as to swear by God. Why not? So Jesus is actually dealing with something interesting that doesn't involve swearing by God. He says, don't swear by heaven, don't swear by earth, don't swear by the gold in the temple, don't swear by these other things. Just let your yes be yes, your no be no. Because you won't go so far as to swear by God, so just do what you say. Right? Yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
Even nowadays, when we get married and stuff, we make vows
Yeah.
to each other that we'll be together forever.
Boy, how would you like
So,
the vows to involve, do you swear by God to be with this person for life and be faithful to them? Because now you're talking about swearing by the faithfulness of God, and I'm going to represent that same faithfulness, which is what his expectation is in the first place, right? But doesn't it heighten the expectation upon ourselves if we were going to go so far as to say, I swear by God that this is what I'm going to do? That almost makes it even more. But that's what Jesus was dealing with. You guys are throwing in some other things that still make it sound like, it has, but there's a little bit of a loophole, or a little bit of a way out, because it wasn't all the way swearing by God. It was swearing by some other things in some way, shape, or form connected to him. And so I know we've gone into like some lengthy discussion on this, but I think it was worthwhile, because it is one of those things. Like, what is the deal? Is this something that's right or is wrong, Mark?
So one thing I think about on this is that all the movies that have scenes where somebody has to leave and, go do battle or something, and one of them says, "Promise me you'll come back."
You'll see watching a Hallmark movie.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's all of them. Promise me you'll come back. I promise you'll be back. It's like, what? Seriously? How can you do that?
How can you
Now, in
promise
the
something
movies
you
it
don't have
works
control
out,
over?
right? In the movies it works out, but it's,
Yeah.
I always laugh at that Asterenda when they say that. It's ridiculous.
Or like when the cop says, "I promise you, I will get that guy."
What?
Yeah.
He's always like,
So I want you to think too of a tie-in commandment that God made. In one of his commandments, he said, "You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain." Now we've applied that today to a very specific phrase, OMG, right? Which I think is appropriate to apply that and say, hey, don't just be going around saying OMG. But was that God's original intent? Like he's looking this far down the line, like people were saying it that way before or something like that? Why would he say, do not take the name of the Lord your God in vain? And what really would that have looked like, taking his name in vain? How about if you swear by God and don't keep the oath? Taking his name in an empty fashion. So here's what Abimelech is calling upon Abraham to do, is to give fullness, emptiness now, give credibility, not uncredibility, to himself and his relationship with Abimelech. And so it really, what God says in that command is, don't take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Hey, you better be careful about how you bring me into the picture. My character and me, you're going to call upon me. You're going to, whatever it is, you're going to worship me, but then not really have it at the heart. You're going to make oaths by my name, but then not really keep them. You're taking my name in vain, and you're walking on it in front of other people. You're belittling my name. Does that make sense? Like kind of what is some of that is attached to, and I think God's original intention was saying, "They'll take my name in vain." Anything else on any of this stuff, Robin?
I was just going to take it seriously, not lightly or
Yeah.
in vain.
And so this is some of the big application for us, right? Is to that we are people of our word. We're trustworthy. We're faithful. We're true in our word, and this really is a lot bigger than than a lot of our culture really gives it credit for. Keeping to your word about something, right? And so let your yes be yes, let your no be no. Just say, if you're going to do it, do it. Because in the end, we do represent God in his name in anything that we do. Is that right? So, all right, anything else on that? Let's take a look at this next one. Get back over here to my stuff. All right, so question 3, what complaint does Abraham have now? And why? It's a very deep subject.
Yeah. So Abimelech's servants seized the well, or
Yeah.
I mean, they took control of the well.
Yeah. your servant took control of the well, and now we can't have from it. And so they're actually, there's a conflict here, right? That's going on. He doesn't have access. They've cut him off from it. Which now, how's Abraham feeling about the oath that they've made? However much time has transpired between the oath they made and then this happening now. So he comes to Abimelech and, are you kidding me right now? We just made this oath together and now you're cutting me off?
No, he didn't approach him that way.
What do you do?
He approached him and said, hey, we've got, he goes, I don't know who's done this thing, you did not tell me. Anyway,
That's Abimelech's
that's Abimelech.
response.
Yeah, so
Abraham
Yeah.
comes at him half-cocked, wouldn't
I
you
guess
say?
it does, yeah, I had it backwards.
He's got a complaint and he brings it to him, and Abimelech says, I don't even know anything. Has Abraham made an assumption here? He has. He's made an assumption that he knows or is behind it. Isn't that something? Like when we jump to a conclusion, believing that somebody is in the wrong or they're, that they have full knowledge or whatever the case is, and then come to find out, man, I had no clue about this. I wouldn't have done you dirty like that. Right? Then begs the question, what kind of beef his men had with Abraham. But so Abraham comes with this complaint, and so let's, and rightfully so, wouldn't you say? Rightfully so, but his approach is with some assumptions, so maybe there's something to be gained or learned from that. But let's ask this question, is if God wants us to do all things without grumbling or complaining, Philippians 2:14, 1 Corinthians 10:10, 1 Peter 4:9, then are Abraham's actions of complaint wrong or justified? Let's just, what, Mark?
It's fine. It's a funny question.
Yeah. And explain your answer. Let's just read these verses real quick. So Philippians 2:14, who wants to take that? Brenda, we'll go on down the line. But if you take Philippians 2:14, Mark, 1 Corinthians 10:10, and Chloe, 1 Peter 4, verse 9.
Okay, Philippians 2:14. Do
Yeah.
all things without grumbling or disputing.
Well, that was nice and simple.
So, verse 10 says, nor grumble as some of them did and were destroyed by the destroyer.
Yeah, so in the context there, he's talking about the Israelites. He says, hey, guess what? We're not too different than them. They're like our brothers. They went through the wilderness and some things happened, but they faced consequences because he goes on to list, and one of them was their grumbling or their murmuring. He says, let's not be those people. Well, what kinds of things were they grumbling and murmuring about?
Things.
Food,
Yeah.
water,
Yeah.
God's provision.
provisions.
Yeah.
Can the Lord really, prepare a table in the wilderness? Actually, doubting is what they're murmuring, what they're complaining ended up involving, and also who's the complaint going to? They're complaining to each other about God instead of going to God about their problem with Him. They're going to other people, each other, and just whining and complaining about, oh, you can't do this, or this is whatever. Okay, let's look at this next one. 1 Peter 4:9, Chloe.
Be hospitable to one another without complaint.
That one hits home sometime, doesn't it? We gotta have them, and we gotta help these people out, or we gotta have them over. No. Well, so there are times it's put there for a reason, because it's very real that kind of stuff goes on for us. It's like it's a heart check issue, right? It's a heart issue. So is Abraham what he's doing here? So if God wants to do all things without grumbling or complaining, then are Abraham's actions of complaint wrong or are they justified? Yeah, Cass.
Well, it's about a well, and Abraham still has a bunch of people to take care of, and it also says to take care of your people.
Okay.
So, I'm not saying you should go and complain like, oh, why would you do that? Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you should go be like, hey, you know, what's going on with
What's
this?
going on?
Yeah, how can we work it out?
Yeah. Should we never complain to the manager? Yeah, we're at a restaurant. Is that what this is kind of talking about? Like, do all things without grumbling or complaining. Oh, great, they really like messed up my order royally. Waitress has a bad attitude, and this is a horrible experience.
They can't.
You mean I should just sit here and do absolutely nothing about it and still pay my money for it? What? In other words, what is this? What is this addressing?
Your attitude.
Yeah. So is this Abraham going around and complaining to other people, or is he going to the source?
Source.
He's going to the source. There's a difference. Jesus would teach us, and Scripture in various places will teach us. Jesus does in Luke 17, and he does in Matthew chapter 18. If your brother sins against you, go and complain about him to other people. That's not what it said. If your brother sins against you, go and what? Talk to him. Tell him his fault between you and him alone. Instead, what happens in the world? How does it so easily go? I've got a problem with somebody because they did something that I don't like, that's hurt me, or it's whatever, it's got me upset, and they did this to me, and
It's gossip.
what do? We go and start talking to other people. This is more the norm in the world, isn't it, for approaching things? That's the complaining approach, isn't it? Rather, we're told to go to the one that the problem is with. So if you have a complaint, if you have a concern, you go to the one that you have the complaint with, right? You go to the one you have a concern with, yeah, right?
Well, I think there's a little bit of difference too, because the Israelites in the wilderness were completely reliant on God
Yeah.
to provide them with everything.
Yeah.
And he had been. And they still complained. And it wasn't a righteous complaint. They didn't have, maybe they were a little bit hungry or a little bit thirsty, but like you said, they weren't taking it to God, and God was trying to get them to, bring it up to him.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham his people have dug a well, and they've kind of taken ownership of this by digging the well themselves. And Abimelech's people came in and took it away from them. So there was some ownership there and some justice issues.
Yeah.
So we always have the right to, if we're paying for a service like you said, or we have ownership of something, and somebody does harm to what we own, we have the right, at least in this country, to take our grievance to the court or the person. I mean, that we should take it to the person first, but if we take it to the court, I don't know. Yeah, so that's really not a complaint the same way that the Israelites
Yeah.
complaining.
It's there's a difference between like a legal dispute as well, right?
Yeah.
But it's like there's complaining just to complain. Like anybody who will listen to my complaint, think about what it does. It's different if you go to, let's say there's like in this case, could easily be seen as a dispute, like a disagreement here where there's an actual like lawful matter. Like, hey, we had an agreement to be good with each other, and then now you're cutting me off from the well, right? Versus, you know what? I'm just gonna poison my community of people with negativity toward Abimelech. I'm gonna complain about this guy all the. What if he did go to Abimelech and he does that? He goes to his community of people and he spreads around this complaint. You will not believe what just happened. I cannot believe it. They put up a fence around it. They blocked us off from it. We can't get water. What are we going to do? That jerk of a king, Abimelech, is behind this whole thing. Was he? Look at what comes along with complaining. In this instance, had he not gone to the source, he would have been spreading what we call gossip and poisoning the water hole. Poisoning other hearts and minds against Abimelech when he's done nothing wrong. Because Abraham initially operated off of assumption. See how this all, what a tangled web we weave. Oh, this doesn't have to do with lies. But this is, look at all the troubles though. And does some of this like make some sense about complaining then and some of the distinction here and how this, and why it also is taught by God not to be about it in our lives. Look at people's lives who are embittered toward God, toward other people, unnecessarily. And assumption abounds, and people build up what they think is the truth when it really is a lie that's built up all because of a complaint. Okay. Anything else on that? Yeah, Mark?
The only other thing I'd say is that Abimelech's people seized it, and Abraham's people didn't fight back. We don't have any example of that, so he, I think he pulled his people back
Yeah.
instead of fighting for their right for the well that they dug.
I think that's a good point. I hadn't even thought of that angle, where that could have very easily been the case, right? We're going to fight over this well. We're going to fight for our right to get water from this well.
And so they might have had, they might have been successful in that if they'd have fought, and then Abimelech would have come and said, "What's going on?" Abimelech might have said, "Oh yeah, you're right. You're justified."
Yeah.
But Abraham chose to step back and go directly to the boss instead of trying to handle it himself.
Yeah. No, that's a great point on that. Thank you. Question. Did I just mess up? So, how did Abraham Abimelech? Did I mess up on my question here? Let's see. Oh, it's question 5. I don't know why I have 6. How do Abraham and Abimelech resolve the complaint or the dispute?
Abraham took some sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech and made a covenant with him.
Yeah.
So settle it.
Wait a second. Abraham's the one who's upset here because he's been wronged.
Let it cost him.
And to settle it, he's going to give stuff to Abimelech? Does this seem backwards?
Unless there was more to the conversation.
So it begs the go ahead, Mark.
Well, Abraham and his people are guests in Abimelech's land too,
Yeah.
right? And so he's being thankful, he's showing gratitude for
Yeah.
them allowing them to be there.
Yeah. So here's kind of to the, as much as is possible with you, be at peace with all men. Nothing really says peace like gift giving. Isn't that, wouldn't you say? No wonder the reason for the season, as we say, or as people say, and peace on earth, goodwill toward men, and it's surrounded by giving gifts. There's an interesting tie, I think, in all of that, at least as far as calming disputes. Think about the ways that people try to calm disputes that are not productive.
It's been productive and not productive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they involve giving animals to people or gifts?
No, don't recall that.
Yeah.
The unproductive ones usually involve anger.
Yeah. One of the things that helps, and I think what we see in this, is Abraham showing honor to, wouldn't you say? you know what, I'm going to suffer a personal loss if that's the case. Not like it's suffering on his part to give what he gives here, because this man has a lot. But what a gesture it is that says, hey, listen, no hard feelings between us, right? And to sort of solidify this, it's almost like another memorializing of their oath together, a reminder and a making things good where there's some tension that's here right now, and the tension has now just been relieved, all because Abraham did a thing called, I'm going to give you something to show the good faith between us, and so that there's no hard feelings. There's something, I think, huge to be gained from what they do here in settling and resolving this dispute. What is it? Does Abimelech do anything to contribute to this resolution?
They came to an agreement of some kind.
Yeah, they came to agreement.
That takes two.
Yeah, it takes two. And you know what he also did in this? He received. I initially was thinking of saying that because it sounds kind of funny. Yeah, yeah, he received. But have you ever dealt with somebody who refused to take something from you when you were trying to give them something, and they're going, oh, no. Sometimes it's really hard to receive because we don't want to feel like we somehow are indebted to a person, that somehow they've gone above and beyond for us, and we're going, I don't want to feel like they're, I don't want to feel little. Now this makes me feel like I need to give them something. Yeah. There's really something to honoring someone by also receiving something that they are trying to do to help make things right. There's some lesson or lessons. This is question 6. No, sorry. I did that. What lesson or lessons are there from this text about how faith handles disputes and complaints? Well, I guess we kind of tackled some of that here. But how does anything else that you had from that about how faith helps, or how faith handles disputes and complaints? How does his faith in God cause him to operate in this way? Think of a good one.
Just everything he does is without animosity. He's not trying to attack Abimelech. He's not taking a personal affront or looking for vengeance. He's just going to him and say, hey, this is what happened.
Yeah. He doesn't stew over it. He doesn't let it cause hardship to persist between him and hard feelings to persist. What else? Very good on that. Anything else about how faith handles disputes and complaints? Yeah.
God tells us that having faith in him and doing the things that he tells us the way he tells us will have good results.
Yeah. And at the very least, if Abimelech wasn't, willing to be on board with what Abraham was trying to do here, and if Abimelech was going to continue to allow conflict to exist between them, or whatever, because of the complaint and everything, then at that point it's all on Abimelech, isn't it? Abraham has done what he could on his part because of his faith in God. If I just do things God's way, it's at least going to be that step toward peace, handling dispute, and to show that things, look, I want this to be good. And it's a humbling of self. And and the giving from God's character. The whole notion is more blessed to give than receive. Look at how that plays out here, right? All right. Anything else on that? Okay. Next one, actual number. What does Abraham do after making the covenant with Abimelech? Arbor Day. Huh?
7 lambs.
Oh yeah, so he gives them 7 lambs. That was part of the gift giving stuff. But don't they plant a tree?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what does this have to do with the story? He plants a tree. Hey, you know what? Let's go plant a tree together. We made an agreement. Let's go ahead and plant a tree.
Sounds good to me.
Remember that?
Yeah, Mark's all on board. Yeah. Okay. Why do they need to remember that spot? Every time now they look at this tree that they planted, what are they going to be thinking? Yeah. Every time we take this supper together, what do we think? We remember something very distinct, very significant. And so trees actually, have a place for us. I mean, we used to have a tree on the way out to Reno.
Yeah.
That people tied up shoes on and hanging on the branches. And it became a significant place to visit. Now, I don't, what the significance was behind all that, I don't know. But this was something for real meaning for them, and a reminder of every time we come to that tree. My agreement, my covenant, my oath with Abimelech.
By that tree, I got shoes up there.
Yeah. So, what do you take from that? Oh, what were you gonna say, Chris? Sorry. Did you start to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. So, what's the significance of that for us today? So, they planted a tree as a result of their covenant and all that kind of stuff. So, what should we make of that for us today? Any application?
It's good to have tangible things to remember your vows.
So, sentimental value is not necessarily a bad thing. But
Don't forget your vows.
does anyone here have a tangible thing for a vow that you've ever made? Look at people holding up their wedding bands.
But does it fit?
Yeah. Anything else besides that? Like, have you ever, besides just the wedding band, something to really serve as a reminder, a representation?
A lot of times when people pass away, maybe younger people and stuff, they'll plant a tree in their name.
Yeah. And that's with somebody passing, but how about as an agreement between you and somebody else?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a contract and a signature. We do that kind of thing. Blood brothers. Tell you what, my dad would forever, I don't know how many times I've heard his story about he and my Uncle Rodney becoming blood brothers, because he's not my actual uncle. They were just best buds. But all my life I've known as Uncle Rodney. My dad was like, yeah, we are blood brothers. We cut our hands, we put that together. We are blood brothers. And that held, that he never forgot. Not only did he never forget it, but it held a tremendous value of their loyalty to one another. So their whole lives. So, what do you learn about God and faith in Him from this text? Did you see much of God in this text? This particular story? Anything to learn about Him in this?
Working in the situation.
Yeah. How about God being the glue between people? see how he's brought into the relationship? Swear by God that you will, and then he goes on to name it. With God being brought into, clearly, into the middle of our relationships with each other, how much more does that help for the glue and the value and the honor of each other, and not an easy separation, or for helping us to deal with our problems with one another when we know that God is the reason for the relationship between each other, me and you. When God isn't in the middle or included as a part of people's friendships, marriages, relationships, whatever they are, how do those seem to go? There's not that glue and all the value attached to the name of the Lord. His character and his qualities are not the things that are holding it together in the first place, right? To me, I think that's a significant thing about what we learned from God about faith in him from the text. And also to lean on God like, hey, look, God's way is the best way in this relationship. And don't forget, he's the reason I am to this person. I am to this person. Anything else in any of this? That ends this lesson. I don't have the lesson sheets for this next week ready. They're almost ready, so I'll get those to you guys. But anything else before we close the lesson out? Okay. Hey, we're at time. Done. Okay, so we need to close this out. Are there any prayer requests or anything? We have men's breakfast tomorrow morning. Yes, right or no? Well, if you're not there, I think Dennis is going to be there. Paul didn't say one way or the other, but if you're not there, whatever.
And I don't know if I can
Yeah.
make it. I gotta do some work in the morning.
Yeah. There is that thing that has to be done. Okay. You all saw the message, or did maybe everybody didn't get the message, but Dennis, or Amy rather, said that Dave Fenneman was care flighted yesterday. To where? Anyway, to a hospital. They thought Havasu. They thought he was having a heart attack because he was having chest pains and high blood pressure or something like that. I can't remember what was going on. But it turns out it wasn't a heart attack, but so they're just trying to figure out what's going on. But he's doing okay. Karen, some friends or some brethren there in the congregation went and stayed with Karen, and she seems to be doing okay. She doesn't seem to be fretting or worrying over Dave. So so that's where things stand. So we're just waiting to see if there's any update on any of that stuff and kind of what really was going on. But it was a little bit of a scare for them, so let's keep them in our prayers. Anything else? Okay. Mark, would you close us in a word of prayer, please?
Right. Dear God, we thank you, Father, for being with us and blessing us with this time here this evening. We thank you for your Son Jesus and just all the sacrifice that he has given on our behalf, and the grace and mercy that we see through him. I pray, Father, you bless us as we go about our lives, that we take opportunity to share your word with anybody we have opportunity to do so with, and just help us to have boldness and give us wisdom and understanding of your word, that we could truly be good representatives for you here in this community. We pray you be with those in our congregation that are not able to be here, different people with different ailments. We pray you be with Dave and Karen, and just help the doctors